Look, I'm not going to treat you like you're an idiot. Escape from Tarkov isn't exactly a perfect game. There it comes with its fair share of bugs in individual ways that may just come at random times. But what if I told you there are 5 specific bugs that are actually still in the game since early access that are actually getting you killed in your raids?
What do you mean?
Stick around and find out how to avoid these and survive more of your raids in future.
He's in the tree!
Before we get in the video here today, I do want to remind you that I do stream on Twitch, and all the videos here today are filmed live on my Twitch. So if you want to ask me any questions about any videos, or just have a chat to me in general, the link for that will be featured down below. We're going to be talking about a bug that's actually been in this game for a significant amount of time, and that is an Ergo bug. There's a problem with some attachments not registering changes in ergonomics. As you may know, ergonomics is a stat that actually increases the ADS speed, how quiet it is, and also how much stamina it drains. But what if I told you there's a way to avoid ergo penalties? Let's take a quick look at a stock AK here without a magazine and without a suppressor. And then we'll set this up as our control. And you can immediately notice that the ADS speed on this stock AKM is really fast. Let's look at a worst case scenario. And I'm going to put on a Merlot drum mag, which absolutely destroys the ergo. We're also going to be throwing on a PBS suppressor before we load into raid. Now, if we look at the difference between the two of the suppressor on before the raid and the control no mag and no suppressor AK, you can immediately notice that that ergo does make a significant difference. Where it gets really interesting is if I was to not load the magazine and not load the suppressor until I get into raid. Immediately once I'm in raid, I'm gonna load the drum and I actually lose 26 ergo. However, if you look at the ADS speed between the control and one with the magazine loaded in raid, and it's not actually applying the ergo debuff until I put on the suppressor. Now this is really interesting to me because magazines in general are not actually applying the ergo debuff correctly. So if you do want to run drum magazines, you can get away with it by simply just putting it in your vest and pressing R to load it once you load into raid. What if I told you there's another bug sort of related to this as well? For some weird reason, in Tarkov, when you ADS from a standstill, there is a large amount of degree of ergo playing into how fast you can pull your gun up. Now the difference here is if you time your sprint correctly, for some weird reason your character runs, and then when he stops a sprint, if you ADS immediately, your gun will swing up much quicker. Now this doesn't happen for every gun, but I've noticed that even with guns with terrible ergo, like fully built SVDs, if you time the sprint aim properly, in other words, sprint, hold shift, and then ADS immediately without doing the slide step, my character will actually aim his gun so much faster than he would if he was simply standing still. Now, I'm not sure if this is intentional to do with your character already running. If you time this right, you can get faster reaction times on enemies, and is part of the reason a lot of the W shift streamers have so much success. Next up is the med bug, and let's talk about some of the mistakes you may be making in raids when it comes to min-maxing your meds. What do I mean by this? Well, every medical item in Tarkov has a unique animation over a certain amount of time. The Grizzly has a 5-second animation, and all the others have 3 seconds. However, it actually gives you a certain amount of HP per second of animation. The Grizzly has a 35 HP per second heal. The Saliwa has a 28.8 HP per second heal. The Car Medkit has a 23.3 HP per second heal. The AFAK has a 20 HP per second heal. And last but not least, the IFAK actually has a 16.6 HP per second heal. So if you were missing 35 HP on a limb and the Grizzly gives 35 HP per second, you would simply only have to channel the animation for just over a second, and then you can press left click to cancel it. However, the status effects are not healed until the very end of the animation. This counts for fractures, bleeds, heavy bleeds, and anything else, including pain. So with your painkillers, you can't do this until the very end of the animation. TLDR, if you're in a bind, you can start the animation, get the heal you need, and if you don't have any status effects, left click to cancel the animation and save time, especially if you're being pushed. Now, weirdly enough, this next bug is as old as Tarkov itself. For some weird reason, every single wipe, they add another really nice pair of glasses, and they still have the same problem. Now, let's talk about what the problem is, and this is glowing glasses. Now, glowing glasses is a little bit of a weird problem, and I've been seeing it in raids, but I never really knew what glasses in particular were doing it. It is only applied to certain types of glasses, so we need to first find out what they are and what causes it. The bug itself, I think, is to do with the reflective texture of certain types of glasses. Any level of fog or any sort of weird lighting with backlighting, whether that be the orange time for sunrise or sunset, seems to make this bug happen more often. Now, we tried out a bunch of different types of glasses to figure out what it was, and we actually broke it down to a specific list of glasses that caused the problem. All right, so as for the glowing, we actually managed to find out that it was literally any glasses with the black texture on it. This includes the Dunducks, Ray-Bench Aviators, Ray-Bench Hipster, Crossbows, and Gas Can. Any glasses with a black shiny texture applied to it. This is really good news because the other ones don't, including the Condors, which are the new ballistic goggles that got added recently. I'm not sure what this bug is and how to fix it. A general rule of thumb, in foggy and rainy sunset and sunrise conditions, try to avoid wearing glasses with a black shiny texture as they will glow and become super obvious at distance. This isn't always guaranteed, and if you're wearing something like a mask over it, like a Mandalorian mask, people won't see them because it won't render, but just be careful around these times. And if you think you're getting spotted and you have no idea how, this might be to blame. Now, this is a bit of a problem because we did a recent video talking about how glasses affect the flashbang time. So they are actually worth using, but you need to make sure that you're choosing the right type. Now, this next movement trick is something that may be getting you killed a fair bit and you just didn't realize yet. When it comes down to pivoting, the first thing you need to realize is that pivoting always plays a sound even though it doesn't on your screen. Just because you're moving quietly doesn't mean that an enemy player won't hear you. You will still make a certain sound once you reach a certain point in the turn. This is actually made worse when you're on top of things like metal, glass, and wood. You can actually make it super obvious that you're pivoting there. Especially if you're overweight. The best way to get around this actually is to slowly move at the slowest speed while turning. Now, this is actually the case up until you become overweight or you're standing on a certain type of surface. Something like glass, wood, or maybe metal. It'll become a lot more obvious when you're moving. But consider this, especially when you're on concrete or grass outside. If you think someone's listening, maybe move very slowly while turning instead of just pivoting on the spot. This next bug is massive, and we're going to be talking about visors. And I know you guys have probably seen that recent video where I talked about the hitboxes of the visors being bugged and how that works. But this next one here is a bit of a weird one. We're going to be talking about breathing in visors. Now, I don't know if you guys have been in a raid and heard someone breathing into their visor and it gave them away clear as day. But just because you're not hearing breathing does not mean other players won't. We did some testing on this and how it works, and we actually found some weird ways of getting around it. The first way to actually stop other players hearing you breathe is to simply wear a visor before you load into raid with the visor down. Now, this actually allows you to hear some of the breathing, but other players will not. And we tried different ways of triggering this, whether it was dropping the helmet to another person, getting them to do things in the helmet like run around out of breath, and no matter what we tried, we couldn't get the helmet to actually give out a breathing sound up until we commed. If you use any voice comm with your visor down after loading into a raid with it down, it will then make sound for everyone else. Now, this is a really weird bug and I'm not 100% sure why it happens like this, but if you are in a raid and you do load with your visor down, the moment you do any voice comm, you will give off breathing. Now, it's not a huge big deal, but it may get you killed in some of your raids. Hey guys, that's it for this video. If you enjoyed this type of content, let me know in the comments down below what bugs you'd like to see me do next. Thank you so much for watching the videos recently, guys. I really appreciate it. If you guys enjoyed this or learned anything here today, feel free to subscribe. Thank you so much for watching to the very end. And as always, we'll see you on the next one.